This weekend, we celebrate 250 years of America. 250 years since the Declaration of Independence was signed. I don't know if you guys saw it about a month or so ago. Trump and Dana White had a UFC fight on the White House lawn to celebrate 250 years. First, I thought how arrogant that is. Secondly, I thought how awesome it was at the same time. I loved every minute of it. It was a great weekend as well of patriotism. I love my country. I love America. I am proud to be an American. I am grateful to the many men and women who have put their lives down to fight for the freedoms that we have for today. It's because 250 years ago, when people had a dream of doing what we're doing right here, worshiping God without any persecution, we're glad to be here. And I want to say that up front. I love my country. I am proud to be an American. But at the same time, my identity, my hope, and my mission are not found in America. My identity will never be found as being an American. My hope will never be in the White House or the Oval Office. My mission will never be the American dream, but to make disciples for Jesus. My identity is found in Him. My hope is found in His kingdom as well. And there is a great temptation, I believe, today for the church to confuse political loyalty to King Jesus as well. And no, they are not the same thing. And both sides are at fault of this. Both sides are at fault in our political system. You have a left side that does not acknowledge truth, and truth becomes whatever I desire, whatever I want, and there is no abject truth. But you also have a right side, and honestly, I am just as scared of the right side as I am of the left, because the right side seems to wrap the cross of Jesus in the American flag, and the right side confuses political loyalty to a political movement also with loyalty to Jesus as well. And again, they are not the same thing. Both the left and the right can tend to make idols out of America and its politics. Both sides can begin to speak more about Washington than they do about King Jesus. Both sides begin to place their hopes in elections more than they place their hope in an empty tomb. And that is why Jesus' statement here in Mark chapter 12 is so important for us and the movement that we sit into here in today. We're in Mark chapter 12, and Mark chapter 12, verse 13 through 17, there is this confrontation between the leaders and Jesus. And Jesus says a statement that I think applies to us and the movement that we sit in today. We pick up in verse 13 of Mark chapter 12. It says, they sent to him some of the Pharisees and some of the Herodians to trap him in his talk. We have two groups here. Two, you can call them political groups. The Pharisees and the Herodians as well. The Pharisees are a group that have placed all of their hopes into a political Messiah coming and overruling the Roman Empire. They are anti-Roman Empire. They hate Rome. They hate the taxes that Rome puts on them. They hate the laws that Rome has. They hate the Roman culture. And then you have the Herodians. They are a group that are pro-Roman Empire. They love the Roman Empire. The Roman Empire can do nothing wrong. They love the tax. They advocate for the tax. They love the laws. They love the culture. And so you have a pro-Roman group and an anti-Roman group. And Mark tells us they come together. They can't agree on anything. The far right and the far left group, they can't agree on anything, but now they've come to trap Jesus in his talk, to trap him. That word to trap speaks of a hunter trying to catch his prey, of trying to set a snare, or a Roman Empire trying to draw in an army so that way they can just strike the army down. These two groups have come together unified on Jesus. He is creating a disturbance. He needs to be silenced. And so let's lay out the snare. Pick up verse 14. And they came to him and said, Teacher, we know that you are true and do not care about anyone's opinion. For you are not swayed by appearances, but truly you teach the way of God. Such flattery by these two groups. Just notice the compliments that they give Jesus here. Teacher, we know that you are true. All things that you do are true. They're good. We know that you do not care about anyone's opinion. You're not swayed by the opinions of others. You stick to the truth. And you're not swayed by appearances either. You don't care how you look. You just stick to the truth. And you truly teach the way of God. Such flattery, but it's all a part of the trap. It's all a part of the snare. They ask the question at the end of verse 14. Is it lawful to pay taxes to Caesar or not? Should we pay them or not? Is it lawful to pay taxes to Caesar? Their question concerns the imperial poll tax created by the Roman Empire. The imperial poll tax was a yearly tax imposed by Rome on every adult in the conquered provinces, including Judea, where this is taking place. It was paid with a Roman denarius and served as a constant reminder that Israel was under Roman rule. Many Jews hated this, and they viewed this tax as both politically oppressive and religiously offensive. Paying it acknowledged Caesar's authority over God's covenant people, and the coin itself bore Caesar's image and the inscription that implied divine status, making it especially objectful for the Jews. You had a coin, a denarius, and on one side you had the Caesar and his face on the coin, and it said, Son of the Divine. Jews hated this tax. They hated this tax so much, and so they asked him, is it lawful to pay taxes to Caesar? And the question for Jesus really creates a no-win scenario, because if he says, yes, pay the tax, many Jews see him as endorsing Rome's oppressive rule and betraying Israel. But if he says, no, do not pay the tax, then the Herodians can immediately report him to the Roman authorities and encourage his crucifixion because he's rebelling against Rome. It's a no-win scenario for this question. And so Jesus steps in, and I love what it says, verse 15. But knowing their hypocrisy, seeing right through their masks, seeing right what they're trying to do, he says to them, why put me to this test? Bring me a denarius, let me look at it. And they brought one, and he said to them, whose likeness and inscription is this? They said to him, Caesar's. So Jesus immediately sees through their trap, through their snare, and he says, bring me that denarius, that coin that you're supposed to pay once a year for the Roman tax. Bring it to me. He holds the coin up, and again, the coin has Caesar's head on it, and it says, Son of the Divine. And he says, whose likeness is this? Whose image is this created in? That word image is supposed to take your mind back to Genesis 1. It relates to Genesis chapter 1. Jesus says, whose likeness is this? Whose image? Caesar's. Notice what he says, verse 17. Jesus said to them, render to Caesar the things that are Caesar's, and to God the things that are God's. And they all marveled at his sayings. Render to Caesar or give to Caesar. That word give or render means to give back or to pay what is owed. Give him what is owed. Give him what is his. Jesus makes a starking contrast here. The coin is made in Caesar's image, but humanity, you are made in God's image. And so whatever is Caesar's, you give to Caesar, but what is God's, you give to God's as well. Jesus is arguing from the image on the object. Since the coin bears Caesar's image and the inscription, it belongs to his economic system and may be returned to him. But humanity bears the image of God, meaning every person ultimately belongs to God, not the state. The implication is that while government has legitimate claims over certain areas of life, such as taxes and civic responsibilities, God has the ultimate claim over the whole person. You may give Caesar your taxes, but we must give God our worship, our obedience, our loyalty and lives, because ultimately we are made in his image, not Caesar's. Jesus' statement, give to Caesar what belongs to Caesar and to God the things that are God's, I think teach us three things about our relationship to government and the authorities over us as followers of Jesus. The first one is this. Jesus' statement calls us to respect the authority of government. Give to Caesar the things that are Caesar's. Paul will write Romans chapter 13, really endorsing what Jesus is saying as well. He says this, Romans 13, verse 1, "Let every person be subject to the governing authorities. For there is no authority except from God, and those that exist have been instituted by God. Therefore, whoever resists the authorities resists what God has appointed, and those who resist will incur judgment. For rulers are not a terror to good conduct, but to bad. Would you have no fear of one who is in authority? Then do what is good, and you will receive his approval. For he is God's servant for your good. But if you do wrong, be afraid, for he does not bear the sword in vain. For he is a servant of God, an avenger who carries out God's wrath on the wrongdoer. Therefore, one must be in subjection, not only to avoid God's wrath, but also for the sake of conscience. For because of this, you also pay taxes, for the authorities are ministers of God, attending to this very thing. Pay to all what is owed to them, taxes to whom taxes are owed, revenue to whom revenue is owed, respect to whom respect is owed, honor to whom honor is owed." Paul teaches that civil government has a legitimate role in life and a legitimate authority that is given by God himself. Followers of Jesus are called to be responsible citizens by respecting governing authorities and faithfully fulfilling their civic responsibilities. Peter adds on to this, 1 Peter chapter 2, verse 13. He says, "Be subject for the Lord's sake to every human institution, whether it be to the emperor as supreme or to governors as sent by him to punish those who do evil and to praise those who do good. For this is the will of God, that by doing good you should put to silence the ignorance of foolish people. Live as people who are free, not using your freedom as a cover-up for evil, but living as servants of God. Honor everyone, love the brotherhood, fear God, and honor the emperor." I think it's important to note that Paul and Peter are both speaking about the same Roman Empire. The same Roman Empire that terrorized Christians and killed Christians for professing their faith in Jesus. They're both speaking about this same Roman Empire, and they're calling us to respect the authority that God has given them as well. But not just respect the authority, also we have a civic responsibility as to the government as well. Jeremiah chapter 29, verses 4 through 7. God is speaking to the exiles in Babylon, and he says this to them as well. "Thus says the Lord of hosts, the God of Israel, to all the exiles whom I have sent into exile from Jerusalem to Babylon. Build houses, live in them. Plant gardens and eat their produce. Take wives and have sons and daughters. Take wives for your sons and give your daughters in marriage that they may bear sons and daughters. Multiply there and do not decrease. But seek the welfare of the city where I have sent you into exile and pray to the Lord on its behalf, for in its welfare you will find your welfare as well." Peter calls us exiles living in a foreign land. And as exiles, God has sent us into a foreign land. He says to seek the welfare of the city, to seek its good, because in its good, you find your good as well. You and I are called to respect the authority that God has given government. But that does not mean just because you respect it, you agree with it. Just because you respect it, you agree with every law, policy, or leader. Followers of Jesus can disagree with governing authorities while still recognizing the legitimacy of their offices and treating them with honor as well. That is what Paul and Peter are after as well. The second thing Jesus' statement teaches us as well. First, we have to remember that government's authority, but also we have to recognize the limits of government as well. Jesus immediately balances his command to give to Caesar with the greater command of give to God. While government has legitimate authority, it is not the ultimate authority. Every earthly authority exists under God's supreme authority. Government may rightly claim certain civic responsibilities, but it cannot claim what ultimately belongs to God and God alone. I think of several illustrations, examples throughout the Old Testament. One of them is Rahab. Rahab is in Jericho, and the king of Jericho has ordered for Rahab to hand over the Israelite spies who have entered into the city. But instead, Rahab lies and hides the spies from the king and sends them out of the city, kind of trying to hide them from the king as well. They give to Caesar what is Caesar, give to God's what is God's. But when Caesar begins to ask for what is God's, your worship, your faith, your loyalty, you have to make the choice to give to God instead of Caesar. I think of another example of Daniel in Daniel chapter 6. King Darius signs a law stating that no one could pray to any god or man except the king for 30 days, making worship to God a criminal offense. And then you have Daniel. He doesn't start a huge movement. He doesn't gather a whole lot of people in a town square. Instead, he just goes to his house, goes to his spot in his room, and he prays. His example shows that followers of God respect governing authorities, but they cannot obey any law that requires them to stop worshiping or obeying the Lord their God. And then there's the example of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. King Nebuchadnezzar commanded every citizen of Babylon to bow down before his massive golden image as an act of loyalty and worship, with death in the fiery furnace awaiting anyone who refused. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego respectfully declined to bow, declaring that God was able to deliver them, but even if he did not, they would never worship another god. You see, their courage reminds us that government may command many things, but it can never rightfully demand the worship, devotion, or ultimate allegiance that belongs only to God. Give to Caesar what is Caesar's. Give to God what is God's. And I think the third thing that this teaches us as well is that you and I must remember where our identity, hope, and mission truly lie. Our identity, hope, and our mission never will lie in politics. Our identity is not found in being an American, a Republican, a Democrat, conservative, or a liberal. Our identity is found in being a follower of Jesus. Every other identity is secondary to belonging to him. When politics become your identity, it begins to shape how you think, speak, and treat others more than the gospel does. We must allow Jesus, not a political party, we must allow Jesus to define who we are. Your identity is rooted in whose image you bear. The coin bore Caesar's image and belonged to Caesar, but you bear God's image and you belong to God. Our hope is never found in politics either. Our hope is not found in the White House, Congress, the Supreme Court, or the outcome of the next election. Governments can improve society, but they cannot redeem it. Every earthly kingdom is temporary. Nations rise and fall, leaders come and go, but Christ's kingdom cannot be shaken, and his reign never ends. We must live with a confidence because our future rests in the reign of King Jesus, not in the political victories or defeats. No election can overthrow his sovereign rule. And our mission is not found in the American dream. It is found in the mission that is given to us by King Jesus himself. The mission of the church is not to save America, but to make disciples. Political engagement has value, but it must never replace gospel proclamation. We are called to influence society primarily by living holy lives, proclaiming the good news of King Jesus and making disciples as well, not by placing our ultimate confidence in political power. Our greatest contribution to our nation is not merely electing better leaders, but leading people to King Jesus himself. Because transformed hearts accomplish what legislation never can do in the first place. Daniel writes this, Daniel chapter 2, verse 20. He says, Daniel answered and said, Blessed be the name of the God forever and ever, to whom belong wisdom and might. He changes times and seasons. He removes kings and sets up kings. He gives wisdom to the wise and knowledge to those who have understanding. He reveals deep and hidden things. He knows what is in darkness, and the light dwells with him. To you, O God of my fathers, I give thanks and praise, for you have given me wisdom and might, and you have now made me known to me what we have asked of you, for you have made known to us the king's matter. You see, Daniel reminds us that history is ultimately directed by God, not presidents, not kings, not political parties. Every ruler who rises to power does so only because God has permitted it, and every ruler remains accountable to him as well. I take you back to Mark chapter 12. Notice Jesus never answered their question in the way that they wanted him to. They wanted him to choose between God and Caesar, to take a side, to declare one kingdom right and the other wrong. But instead, Jesus lifts the conversation above politics to the greater issue of allegiance, worship, surrender to who God is. The real question was never, should we pay taxes? The real question was, to whom do you ultimately belong? So this weekend, as we celebrate America 250, let us thank God for this nation and the freedoms we enjoy. Be a faithful citizen. Pray for your leaders. Vote according to biblical convictions. Seek the good of your community. But never let your identity be found in America, your hope rest in politics, or your mission become anything less than making disciples of Jesus Christ. Give to Caesar what belongs to Caesar, but give yourself completely to God, because the kingdom of Christ is the only kingdom that will never pass away. This morning, if you have not given your life to him, that starts at the waters of baptism, where we died to self and we were raised to him. If we can help you with that, or help you in any other way, we invite you to come as we stand and sing.